Thanks, Jason. So it's my pleasure to introduce you all to the original Jay-Z. I just love it. So Jennifer Zammuto started her career in international exports and marketing, including advertising, corporate communications, and public relations, before transitioning into philanthropic work for the Caterpillar Foundation. Her unique background brings corporate processes and a customer focus to her work today in leading the Heart of Illinois United Way, one of our community's most unique nonprofit organizations. Jennifer is fluent in French, which I did not know until today. She studied at Northern Illinois University and the Université d'Avignon. Pardon my lack of French. She worked in Europe during her early career. While at Caterpillar, she earned an executive MBA from Bradley University. If you don't know Jennifer, she is very active in our community and has been for many years. She's a pleasure to be around. You always know where you stand with her, but she's also very positive. Before going to work for the United Way, she volunteered extensively for the United Way. She's a former Rotarian, the Downtown Club. She's a past board member of the Center for Prevention of Abuse and many, many other organizations. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jennifer Zammuto to speak to us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. That's the news I've got. Appreciate Andrea for shortening that. It's not that exciting. So I'm really excited to be here with all my friends at Rotary. This really is so nice. I was thinking, I had just been here, but it was so many board presidents ago that clearly it's been a few years. So I'm excited to be back with you all. I've only got 20 minutes or so, so I'm going to go through this kind of quickly. If there's anything that you want me to elaborate on, raise your hand. Let's make this conversational, or we can always talk afterwards as well. He told me not to be mobile. I'll stay here. I'm required to be.
I'm sharing the screen. You can move.
All right.
You
Okay.
can move.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you can move.
I'm better if I'm moving. It's going to give you feedback.
Oh, can I sit for a second? No, the other. It helps if I actually plug it in.
Thanks. All right. So, hi, everybody. Maybe you know about United Way already. I know a few of you obviously do. There we go. So, most people know about United Way, but then if I asked you what we actually do, most people say, I mean, obviously there's a couple of you in here that should know. Andrea is one of our board members, Julie is one of our partner agencies, and lots more of you. But most people don't really understand what we do at United Way. I didn't when I first started learning about it, and I remember thinking, oh, United Way, it's something with charities I ought to give. And I'm going to challenge you today to think more critically about your charitable investments. It's not just something you ought to do. I would encourage you to think as critically about your charitable donations as you do about where you buy your gas, your 401k, what you buy at the grocery store, and everything else that you do with your money. It's really just as important, and we have some excellent ways of ensuring that your charitable dollars are efficiently and effectively used. So at the Heart of Illinois United Way, we focus on education, financial stability, and health as important building blocks for our community. And we have a very unique process that we use. And I think, when people think about charitable donations, we tend to think with our hearts, right? We like that. We like our animal shelters or our church, or we've been impacted, or a family member has been impacted by something, which we all have. And therefore, we like organizations. And that's wonderful. We should continue to do that. But how do you know if that organization is really using your dollars efficiently and effectively? How do you know their programs are strong and healthy? Our partner agencies, and there are 45 of them across 6 counties, Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, Marshall, Putnam, and Stark counties, are incredible. And they have incredible programs. We have a process that takes all kinds of different information in. It's not easy. I'm sure Julie will tell you. We make it pretty difficult so that our donors feel great about where their charitable dollars are going. We don't invest in agencies. We invest in programs. So Julie might come to us with 5 or 6 different programs to fund, and maybe we only fund 2 or 3 or 4 because we look at each program individually. So we'll say we want you to put these dollars towards this particular after-school program, let's say, or Meals on Wheels. We look at all kinds of things like the overall financial health of the organization. We look at the engagement of the executive director and the board. We look at how many people they serve. We look to see that they are changing knowledge and behavior for the people in the programs, and that's really important. For an after-school program, for example, not just the kids are sitting there and maybe eating a granola bar, but that something else is happening. How are they learning? How are they changing? How are they growing? That's really important. And the best part for me is I don't make those decisions, and neither does my very small staff. We have hundreds of volunteers that do that work for us, and that's wonderful. And I feel good as a donor myself that that process is strong. And the other thing that I think is very, very important is that when we need to pause, and it's been very interesting the last few years, our nonprofits have flexed, and I'll say the dreaded word pivoted, as much as they have during these really unique times. After school programs, all of a sudden we're helping kids get online. How do we adjust during these challenging times? And there have been times where we've also paused funding. If a program maybe wasn't performing as it should have, or something strange happened and they had to pause, we will stop our funding if need be, or pause it temporarily until they get back on their feet. The other thing that I think is really unique about us is that not only do we walk alongside our donors and ensure that donor dollars are well invested, we walk alongside our partner agencies. Our job is to help them study for the test, right? Help them get better in the work that they're doing. And maybe we say, hey, we know somebody else that's measuring a similar program in a different way. You might want to think about that. So that's really important for us as well. And I don't know of another funder that does that, that will walk alongside the nonprofits as they're also investing. I think that's really important. So 1 in 3 people in Central Illinois are impacted by our Community Impact Fund, which I think is really shocking and critical. But it's really not just about investing in nonprofits. Yes, that's critical. But how do we know what things are most important to invest in? And I'm here today to talk to you about our community assessment, and I'll get into that in a minute. But really, for us at United Way, we have to understand what all of the issues are in the community. And Jason was talking about Spark. I'm involved in the Regional Workforce Alliance, which is a group of people trying to ensure that it started off because the Economic Development Council needs to bring businesses into our community. Businesses want us to have a workforce that's ready to go. How do we do that? So the Regional Workforce Alliance looks at kids from kindergarten to high school to make sure that they understand what their opportunities are. So Spark is a part of that, helps those 8th graders decide where they can go in their careers. We have a group that helps people that are currently working but maybe making minimum wage, help them get certified to that next place they need to go. And then there's a group that looks at multiple barriers, and many of those are the folks that are served through our partner agencies, and how do we help them be productive members of our community, and many of them really are. And that's just one of many, many things that we do. We're also a part of Choose Greater Peoria. Maybe you've heard about that. It's an initiative to build up the brand of Peoria, not just here locally, but up in Chicago and Madison and Indianapolis and St. Louis, so we can get more people to move to this community. So we've got a really robust workforce. And that's very exciting. So it's very important for us as nonprofits to be a part of that. And nonprofits are a great way for people to get involved in the community. I know you all volunteer. I would really love to encourage anybody that's new to the community to come to Rotary. You all do such a wonderful job in terms of connecting people with other people. And I think it's beyond just your job when you move to a new community, but really feeling like you're rooted and you've got friends and connections. And I think I'm encouraging everybody to come to downtown Rotary. Sorry. We'll have to take that out of the. That you know what? But not to the guy that likes the Packers. That's all okay. You grew up in Illinois. You can't like the Packers. All right. Okay. All right. So one of the things we do at the Heart of Illinois United Way is we use data to make decisions. So outside of our Community Impact Fund, every 3 years we do a community assessment. We take data used in both the community health needs assessment that Dr. Weinzimmer does for our hospitals and our health departments, and we look at all of these different data points. We don't just do this for us, we do it for the whole community. So any of you that want to use this are welcome to. The city uses it, our nonprofits use it. So we've got a lot of folks that use this data in here in our community. So please, I will show you some highlights. The book itself is very big, and I've got a few of them in the back of the room today, and Andrea can get those for you if you're interested. So the assessment is really interesting for us. It's data that comes from the census, it comes from our educational institutions and other places. We do it once every 3 years. It covers our 6 counties and Fulton County, because one of the things we do at the Heart of Illinois United Way is look at homelessness, and I'll talk a little bit about that. We cover Fulton County for homelessness as well. Anything that you see today is available online on our website, on our homepage. It's a lot of data. If you're really tired, if you can't sleep at night and you're really looking to fall asleep, this is something you might want to pull up. But what we do is we look at all kinds of different data points. For example, in the space of education, we look to see how many students are low income, because being low income impacts you in all kinds of different ways across your education. And so for us, it's not just about investing in education, but understanding the root causes and what's driving behavior and what the real things are that are impacting, in this case, children. So we want to make sure they have the ability to learn. We look at things like chronic absenteeism. And so in our region, we've got 26% chronic absenteeism. The state of Illinois has an average absenteeism rate of about 30%. So we're below the state average, but we'd like to get that much lower, because if you're not at school, you can't be learning. The other thing we look at is student mobility. Changing schools a lot can be really disruptive for kids. And so we look to see our mobility rate is 12%, and the state of Illinois average is 8%. I know at our Peoria public schools, they're doing a lot to try to combat this, but it's a really difficult thing for them to do. The thing that I think is most important when we talk about collaboration, we cannot expect schools to fix all this by themselves. We cannot expect governments to fix this by themselves. We cannot expect the nonprofits to fix them by themselves. We cannot expect the educational institutions like Bradley and Eureka and ICC to fix these things. We as a community have to come together collectively to look at the root causes of these challenges and fix them. And I think a lot of the work that's happening around getting people stronger jobs, helping them stay rooted where they are, and all kinds of other things can help some of these things. There's a ton of data here, by the way. I'm going to go quick, but there's a lot more in the book. We can go through all of it. One of the other things we look at is looking at poverty in terms of female head of household compared to couples. And families with a female head of household live in poverty 10 times more than married couples tend to. So 3.6 of married couples live in poverty compared to 34.5% of single female head of household. We know that this is a big deal. We know that it changes lives in drastic ways. And so a lot of the programs that we have are focusing on serving those folks. I mentioned homelessness, and one of the things we do at the Heart of Illinois United Way is we are a continuum of care for homelessness. And that means that any state or federal funding that comes into our region, the state and federal governments require we have a continuum. And essentially that's a group of homeless providers that come together and collectively apply for the funding. We use a lot of data and systems to help do this work in the best ways possible. Homelessness has many, many different root causes. Some of those are short-term, some of those are long-term, and the solutions are varied. So we have all kinds of things. It might be one flat tire away from losing your job, which all of a sudden sends your family into homelessness. You might have a long-term mental illness that's preventing you from working, and then you've lost family members, and then all of a sudden you're homeless, and maybe that lasts for a long time. So what we do is we have systems that we use to get people connected to the resources, like 2-in-1, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We have a way to prioritize people into our housing system so that we can get them into the beds that are available. We have all kinds of short-term emergency shelters. You need a night and you stay at the Salvation Army or the Dream Center. But then there are all kinds of other housing opportunities on the spectrum, whether it's rapid rehousing, whether it's temporary housing, and our goal is to get everyone permanent supportive housing. Once you get permanent supportive housing, you are off the list, meaning you are no longer experiencing homelessness, and that is our goal. Phoenix Community Development Services, I think Chris has spoken to you all before. They do an incredible job. They have a 55-unit permanent supportive housing unit for families on the horizon at the old Ramada Inn next to OSF that's owned by Carl. When that comes online here in the next couple of years, 55 families will be off the list for homelessness. When you think about what that means and the wraparound services in that building, they will have a daycare center, the one that's currently there, that the families can use. Heartland Community Health Clinic, another one of our partners, will have a health clinic, not just for the residents, but for others to come in. So AMT, for example, will be able to take people to that clinic instead of taking them to the emergency room, which will free up the emergency rooms and get people the service they need. They'll also have case managers on site. We're talking to one of our banking partners, and they might have a small financial center there to help those families really understand how to be financially stable. This is critical, right? If you don't have a place to live that's functional, really none of the other work that we do matters. So this is really, really critical for us. We saw a big jump up after COVID. There was a big drop during COVID because there was a moratorium on evictions. So our team works very closely with our housing providers on this. We continue to find better ways to do this work. We ensure now, it used to be if you had a mental illness or a drug problem, we'd tell you to get that fixed and then you could get housed, which makes no sense. I don't know how you'd fix a problem like that without having a stable place to live. So now it's called Housing First. We'll get you housed, we'll get you a case manager, and we'll help you manage through that challenge. There's a lot more I could say here, but I'm limited on time. So if you want to talk more, let me know. We also look at the cost of housing, and I think this is very interesting. The housing cost burden for renters is significantly higher than those that own. 49% of household income compared to 17% for those that own. Think about what that means. How do you ever get out of that cycle if you're spending 49% of your income on your housing? Very, very challenging. It's very expensive to live in poverty. We also saw a 23% increase in the families using LIHEAP, which is low-income help for utilities. And that's something that we want to make sure that we can support people, that they can have their heat on in the winter, have their air on in the summer, and that's really important. And that's one of the things that we support through 211. It's like I knew that slide was coming up. 211, if you haven't heard about 211, this is a free service for our community. It's run by United Way at AMT. They're a wonderful provider. We're in our 10-year anniversary of 211. We get more than 10,000 calls a year to 211. And 211 is like 911 for non-medical emergencies. If you need housing, you need utilities, you need clothing, you need diapers, formula, just about anything you can imagine, you can get that through 211. I really love our 211 because it's updated every single day. We never send someone to a food bank that's not open, to a bed that isn't available for them. And it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Someone is there. Professionals are manning those calls. Everyone that calls gets at least 5 referrals, and we follow up to make sure that they got the resources they need. What I really like about 211 too is different than the community assessment, which gives us data every 3 years. We can get data from 211 every day, every hour, every week, every month. So we know what the community needs are as they're happening. And during COVID, that was especially helpful for us. We added nurses to the call center. We had about a 200% increase during COVID and people calling. It was a great way to connect people to resources because let's be honest, how many of us know everything that every nonprofit in town does? I don't, and I live in this role every day. We have so much that's available to people, and honestly, no one's got the database in their own heads to just get all that information to folks. So we love this. I've got a good little story for you. I don't know if you all know Pastor Chad Mann back at Richwoods Christian Church. He's fairly new to town, and when he started here, we had a little chat, and I was just telling him about these things, and I said, use 211 for your parishioners if you've got someone that needs something. And we went on, and that was nice. And about 6 months later, he called me and said, we've been secret shopping you on 211 for the last 6 months. I've been sending parishioners there, and we've just been checking to see how things have gone. And it's been so successful, we can now repurpose an entire full-time person at our church to do other things because you all have the resources for us. They were spending a lot of their budget on LIHEAP, which is that helping people pay their utilities, and they didn't have to do that. So now they're making a donation to us each year because it's still saving them money to make a donation to us and repurpose that full-time job. So it's just a matter of taking the community resources we do have and use them efficiently and effectively. I'm really passionate about that. Whether you give through United Way to a partner agency or somewhere else, make sure you understand what's happening with those dollars. If it's the animal shelter, make sure the money is going to the animals. Obviously, there's going to be some overhead, but you want to make sure your dollars are going to the things that are important to you. So anyway, 211 is critical. Most of our businesses that we work with use 211. HR departments use them for their employees. So if you ever need cards or anything like that, please feel free. There's also a 309 number that goes along with that in our website. Okay, so back on the community health needs assessment. Each year we focus on education, financial stability, and health. And every 3 years when we do this, we have a special section. And this year we focused on mental health. And the data is frightening. To me, I think the thing that's most frightening about this is in the mental health space, there are some things that we can't control, right? People have things going on in their brains that they just need help with, that you need medication or intervention. But some of the things we're seeing here are preventable. And that's the thing I find most frustrating. For example, this first statistic, 30% of teens reported being bullied. And I don't know about, maybe this is my age showing, I blame social media for some of this. right? It's so much easier behind a screen to say things that you would probably never say to someone's face. We see a lot of things happening these days with younger people, and I'm very concerned about what this is going to look like in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years if we don't do something today. I'm very excited that both Carl and OSF have new mental health facilities coming online, but there's a lot of making up to do, and this takes time. Some of the other statistics that we see, 18% is the approximate number of high school students who considered suicide. This is shocking. And then we look at the number of suicide deaths. So the number of deaths attributed to suicide dropped in 2020, but have since returned to pre-pandemic levels, which is frightening. So this is one of the things that we use at United Way. We're going into the next beginning of our next 3-year cycle in terms of what we fund. And I am hoping that we will see more mental health programs coming in that we're funding. I think we need this. I was just talking with the ladies over at the Junior League a couple of weeks ago, and they were looking for a new project. And I think if we can do something to help prevent this from happening in the first place, for the things that are preventable, I can't imagine why we wouldn't. But it's complicated, and it takes resources and all those kinds of things. So that's why this data is important. It can help us drive behavior and where we invest. You can click on this. This information is available on our website too. If I don't have enough copies of all of this for everybody, but if you need a copy of the report and you didn't get one, please feel free to grab one. And we're very happy to share this with as many folks as want to have it. It's also all available online. I know that was a lot. You took a lot in today. What questions can I answer for you? What do you want to know? Yes, sir.
So thank you for being here.
Oh, sorry, hang on. You need a microphone. I'll go back to the other.
Yeah, so I'll start over. Thank you for being here. I've been a coordinator at Loaves and Fish for 15 years. And we know about 211, but we don't really know about it. It comes up all the time, but this is the first time that I've really seen anything meaningful about it, that it's really, really resourceful. So my question would be, do you have an orientation where we could learn more about it? How do we know more about it? Thank you.
Sure. So I probably blame Patty Bash for that. I know she has a lot to do with Loaves and Fish, and she's very involved with United Way. As a nonprofit, any nonprofit we want to have nonprofit information in 211. So I'm pretty sure Loaves and Fish is already there. The folks at 211 will reach out to the folks at Loaves and Fish or any nonprofit, and they update that information on a regular basis. If you all need anything, you can have a group go over and take a tour. It's really quite impressive. If you haven't been inside AMT, it's an EF5 tornado-proof building. They've got all these screens. They know everything that's happening. You can go on a tour, you can learn more, and we can get you cards and flyers and all those kinds of things that you need to.
30 some years ago, I was a loaned executive. Did they still have that program? We were up in the carriage house behind the building, still on High Street. That was a phenomenal program. Met some great people, did a lot of great work, got to know a lot of what you're talking about firsthand. Is that still a thing? And if you do have it, I'd recommend anyone do it.
Thank you. What business did you work with?
I was at Jefferson Bank.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah. I did that through Jefferson Bank.
It's very interesting. We don't get a lot of loaned executives anymore. I think simply because businesses have pared down so much that there really aren't people. I mean, how many of you could leave your jobs for 2 months and come, loan yourself out to a nonprofit? I don't think I could, but SEFCU is the only organization that still does it. And we have a wonderful ambassador, and they allow someone to leave their job for 2 months and come support us during the campaign season, which is fantastic. We don't have them all in the carriage house anymore. You probably knew Lori Shoemaker when she was there. She's now retired. But we will take anyone that wants to come volunteer with us at any point. It's really an important part. We function because of volunteers. We have 15 people on our team, and we probably have 600 volunteers that make all this work, which I love because it keeps our costs down, which is really important. One of the things we did not talk about today was volunteerism, and we really feel strongly about this at United Way. I think our community is successful because of volunteers. We've been around for 100 years, not because I've been in this job for 5. We've been around because of volunteers in this community that care about sharing their talents and their time and their resources with this community. And so we have a volunteer site that matches up volunteers that want to spend time in the community with volunteer opportunities in our nonprofit community. You can either sign up just to, hey, wherever you need my hand, I'll do it, or you can set up a skills-based profile that says, I'm an expert in IT or marketing or strategy or whatever that is, and then we can find you those opportunities. I always call it match.com for volunteers and volunteering. It's wonderful. It's free to use. I know you all volunteer all the time. You can we've got virtual opportunities too, where you can read books to kids online. You can upload it, and then it goes into the classroom, so that can be recycled over and over and over. You can find group activities, things to do with your families, things to do as Rotary Club. So that's also something. You can find that link on our website as well. So volunteers that give their time back to us are a critical component, not just for United Way, but all of our partner agencies. We can't hire all these experts in finance and marketing and sales and everything that we need to be successful. So we're really, really thankful for people like you that do that for us. Should I be worried, Jen?
This is a legit question,
Okay.
not from my husband. So I have a quick question about curtailing your donations, because you know me, full disclosure, I love this girl. So if I have a special place in my heart for kids, can I make donations that you guys would figure out what charities need it the most to go to children, or if someone has an interest for people who are homeless, and so on?
Yes, so you have all kinds of different opportunities at United Way. You can give to our general fund, which is that community impact fund I talked about. Within the community impact fund, we have 3 different impact areas: education, financial stability, and health. So you could say, I want my money to go to the education impact area, or the financial stability impact area, or the health impact area, or I like a particular nonprofit. Or you can actually negatively designate, which says, I want my money to go in your general fund, but just not to that organization. So you can certainly do that. I would just like to also clear up a myth. I think everyone thinks we fund Planned Parenthood. We do not. I have been saying this for years. I don't know why, but things like this tend to stick around. Lots of people, either like or don't like that organization. We don't fund Planned Parenthood. They're not one of our partner agencies. But yes, you can choose to kind of be creative with where your dollars go. And if you're not sure, you can say, we have some people that say, I just want my money to go to the education impact area. Or if you want your money to go to Home for All, which is the homeless continuum of care, you can put your money there. Or we can talk through, we've got lots of partner agencies that do work in the homeless space, like Dream Center, Salvation Army, Phoenix Community Development, Center for Prevention of Abuse, and lots more. Thanks, Jen. And you can tell Jim that you said that.
Well, thanks, Jennifer, for being here. So you make it very easy when you're working to take funds right out of your check, right? Now we're retired. What are some options? How can we continue to?
Just like I planted these questions. Thank you. I didn't. It's true. When you're working and there are campaigns in your workplace, it is very easy. You have payroll deduction. It just rolls over. It's very easy. But when you are retired, sometimes it's harder. If you are a retiree from Caterpillar, you still qualify for the Caterpillar Foundation match. It's a dollar for dollar match with no caps. If you didn't know that, that's a big deal. I know other companies have matches as well. You can really use whatever kind of creative model you want to. You can go to our website and donate. You can pledge and pay us later. You can donate stock. You can give on a credit card. You can give on a credit card over time. You can give a one-time payment. Really, whatever works best for you all. And that's why I'm coming to places like this, because yeah, it's kind of different, right? You might forget to give because nobody asked you at your workplace. So talk to people at your house. Say, hey, Scott, did we give to United Way yet? And since he's a retiree from Caterpillar, you guys qualify for the match. Yes, thank you, I appreciate that.
So as a partner agency, I just want to say, I know that it's really appreciated when people give to us directly, but I always encourage people give to the fund, because a client that comes to us is not just a client to us at Neighborhood House. There are many times that we are partnering with Adult Protective Services, Center for Prevention of Abuse. We're working with Dream Center. Big Brothers Big Sisters shares a space with us. Typically, if you're passionate about education and youth, those parents may need supportive services as well. And so what I think is really special, having only been in Peoria for 5 years, is that the partner agencies are so strong here, but we also all work together. And as for 211, I have case managers that will call it sometimes if they're stumped about how to help a client for where to send them. But I just strongly encourage you to think beyond just that one individual, because a whole family needs oftentimes needs help and support, and there's not one agency that can do all of that for them.
I love the collaboration between our partner agencies. We're not in competition with each other. I think people think that we are. If we can't all work together, we will not solve these big challenges. And I'm so proud of the work that our partner agencies do. I think I've been talking too long. Sorry.